Hello, Packers fans, and welcome into PackersNews.com. I'm Kassidy Hill, joined by Pete Dougherty. Pete, we are live at Lambeau Field. We are inside because it is snowing pretty hard outside today. I think it looks beautiful.
You know, it does. This is what it feels like in December and January football in Wisconsin. And if it weren't for the snow coming down and getting our equipment wet, we would have stood outside and let you get a feel or a look at what it looks like. But it's about 30 degrees and there's a wet snow coming down.
Snow, Packers, Seahawks. It feels like a playoff game.
It does. I think when they played in the playoffs last year, I can't remember if it snowed that day or not, but I'll bet it was a day similar to this. Yeah, I'm thinking it did.
It did. The reason I know is because I remember seeing a tweet from the Seahawks reporter after that game, and it made me move Lambeau Field in the snow up to the top of my stadium bucket list. She was talking about being out on the field after the game, doing a live hit, and Pete Carroll walked out and stopped her and said, "It's snowing in Lambeau. Just stand here and take it in for a minute." And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you'll if you're here for more than a year or two, you'll get more snow at Lambeau than you ever wanted to deal with.
It'll be cool just for today.
Yeah.
So the Packers did just recently announce their inactive players for today. Before we get to the inactives, two players that are active stood out, Kenny Clark and Eric Stokes. How important is it to have both of them today, especially with Russell Wilson back?
Very big. Clark is the anchor of the front seven of that defense. He's a really key player. And Stokes is their best cover guy with Alexander out. I would say he's their best cover guy with Alexander out. And he needs all the work he can get to get him ready for the playoffs, being a rookie. So I think it's pretty big to have both of those guys. Helps a lot for matching up with DJ Metcalf also, because that is a big, fast man, and Stokes is the fastest guy the Packers have.
They said that they're having a little trouble hearing us. Let's do this just to see if it helps. Okay. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. In case you didn't hear us, Eric Stokes and Kenny Clark both active today. As Pete was saying, huge with Russell Wilson back against DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to have Eric Stokes specifically. As far as who is inactive, who do we have?
Inactive, Equanimous St. Brown, Vernon Scott, Dominique Daphne, David Bakhtiari, and Kingsley Kiki.
Kiki, we didn't expect to be back today, but did you ever expect he'd be in concussion protocol this long?
You know, you never know with these guys. I mean, Devontae Adams took a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, took one of the most hellacious hits you're ever going to see against the Bears. And it's like, oh my, this was bad. And he plays the next week. Got out of the protocol just like that. Other guys will miss a month. You just never know.
And then David Bakhtiari, not technically on the inactive list today because he was never officially, I guess, on the.
Actually, he is.
He is on the inactive list?
Today is the first day he's on it because he just got activated on Wednesday, I think it was. Yeah.
He was out at practice a couple of days last week. He was out there Wednesday. Thursday, I believe he was out there. Then Friday, we didn't see him. Matt LaFleur said on Friday at that point, we expect him to be doubtful, just part of the process. Is how he explained it.
Yeah, a week ago at this time when we were trying to guess, right before inactives came out, I guess we knew by this time because he hadn't been activated that he wasn't playing. But talking about that, I know I was thinking, well, this will be the week that he plays. Until on Wednesday when he was a limited participant in practice, that was a big red flag. Because I'm thinking that he probably won't play until he practices full participant for 3 days in a week for all 3 practices. So maybe that'll be this upcoming week. Maybe it'll be a little later. He's basically, just over 10 months removed from surgery. That's a 9 to 12 month recovery. Bigger guys, I think, take a little longer. But next week's probably in play, but maybe it won't be for another week or two after that.
Of course, the most important active player today, Packers activated Aaron Rodgers off of the reserve COVID-19 list yesterday. All due respect to Jordan Love, how crucial was it to have Aaron Rodgers back?
Yeah, I was just reading this morning. So when they switched, so when it became clear that when Love became the quarterback last week, I think the Packers line changed. I think it was by 7 points. And there was another quarterback change. I know I'm forgetting who it was, where the line changed 6 points. Roethlisberger
Mm-hmm.
tested positive today. He's out. That line changed 4 points. So I think that 7-point swing is about as big as you're going to see for a quarterback being out, short of last year when whoever it was had to play a running back at quarterback for that one game. So that's a touchdown in this league. Is the
Mm-hmm.
if you look at average scoring, it's the difference between being one of the top 2 or 3 offenses and being like right around the middle of the pack. So it's the difference between being average and elite is a touchdown a game.
With him back today, but you also have Russell Wilson back on the other sideline. Just last minute predictions, breakdowns. How do you see this game going?
I've forgotten the score I picked, but I think it was Packers 27-21, something.
Ooh, you were closer than I was.
Something in that vicinity. So, there could be some rust there, but you're also going to have the factor of, with Rodgers, but you also have the factor of, he's feeling like the world's against him. And a lot of times when he's been in that situation, he comes out and plays great. So maybe he just lights things up today too.
I saw someone in the airport the other day with a shirt on that said, "I still own you." I was like, oh, that's going to become the rallying cry of this season, I feel like.
Yeah, and this could, maybe all this will end up being galvanizing. It all just depends on how well Rodgers played. And he has played so well. He had an excellent training camp. It was as good a camp as I remember him having. And he was playing really good football, up until not playing last week. I don't think there's any reason to think it won't continue. The one thing we don't know is how is he feeling? How's his energy level? How's his strength and stamina? Will that be an issue today? We won't know until, he plays and we observe him and then ask him after the game.
I'd say by mid-second quarter, early third, we should be able to tell if he's got the stamina to go the whole game.
Yeah, you would think. And, if he'll be strong enough to finish, but maybe he just won't be feeling great. But in adverse circumstances, sometimes these guys just play great. We talked about it, I think, last week, where Favre had that game. I think it was in 95. He really badly sprained his ankle. Didn't practice all week. It was iffy until game time on Sunday against the Bears. Comes out and throws 5 touchdown passes. And besides throwing 5 TDs, he played a really good game.
That's 5 touchdowns is on top of the good game.
Yeah, you could throw 4 2-yard touchdown passes. Yeah. Maybe he didn't play that great, but he played a good football game.
Okay. Brandon Williams asked, how long do we have to wait for Jair and Za'Darius? But I'm going to expand on his question. Are you okay without them today? Has this defense shown you enough to feel comfortable with what you can do without those two?
Keep curious to keep seeing how it plays out week after week, but especially these last couple of weeks, against Murray and Mahomes, who are 2 of the best quarterbacks in the game, that defense has really held up. It's so much better than it was the first, even just wipe out the first game, so much better than it was, the second or third games even. So these are all, really good tests for the defense. They've got to feel good that if they can get both of those guys back, that's adding 2 guys who were both second team All-Pros last season. And they're both basically still in their primes. That's adding 2 really high quality players to the defense. If they both can come back, it's not a guarantee. And it's sounding like Smith actually has the chance of being ready sooner than Za'Darius Smith. But adding even one will make a difference, and adding both would really help. Should really help this defense, as long as they're feeling pretty good when they come back.
Sue asked an interesting question. Do you think fans will boo Rodgers when he enters the stadium?
I'm wondering the same thing. I think a lot of people are wondering that. Do you have a guess?
Part of me would say I could see where that would be a question, but I don't think it'll happen. Just because the only reason I think it would be a question is because not even so much like getting the vaccine versus not getting the vaccine, but because of breaking the protocol and having to take himself out for a week because he didn't have the vaccine, you essentially lose a game because he's not in it. And so from a football standpoint, I could see fans saying, because of your decision, you lost us a game. However, they also saw what that team looked like without him, and they know how much they need him for the rest of this season. Yeah. I think it'll be a huge welcome back. I think it'll be a big cheer.
That's my guess too, is, like you're walking around outside the stadium today, it's just the same excitement there always is. There's a football game to be played. He's a great player. I would guess that a huge majority of the fans are going to be excited to see him out there, and they'll let him know it when he runs onto the field.
Well, we know we have Tom Silverstein and Leroy Butler coming up here in just a minute. They're going to take the rest of the pregame show from us. Just final thoughts on how this game could play out today, especially with both quarterbacks back out there.
Yeah, I ran into somebody with the Seahawks who I know just before we went on here, and was asking about Russell Wilson, and it sounds like he's throwing the ball fine. He had that broken middle finger on his throwing hand. They had the bye in there, so he missed 3 weeks and then had the bye to heal. And they think that he's throwing the ball just fine. And he was able to at least stay in, it wasn't his legs that were hurt, so he could still do all the cardio and all that. And he's an exciting, really great player. I mean, we saw it last year in the playoffs. He brought the Seahawks back basically single-handedly, just made play after play in the second half and gave him a chance to get back into that game. So I think this is a really interesting game. The Seahawks aren't the defensive juggernaut they used to be, so I still would, if I had to bet, I would bet on the Packers to win this one by, I can't remember what the final spread ended up being, but I would say, I'll stick with the 6 to 7 point Packers edge.
I gave him a little bit more credit. If Rodgers feels healthy, I said 34-17. But if he's not feeling up to par, I like to build contingencies into my predictions so that way when I'm wrong, I can say, well, this didn't happen, so this didn't happen.
Look, if we knew this stuff, we would be sitting at home living off our gambling winnings, right?
Exactly.
So,
or making a little floor money.
Yeah. So nobody knows these things. We're all just taking kind of wild guesses, really.
Yeah, it should be good. We hope to see Rodgers out there feeling healthy and moving the way he has been. He was on track for an MVP season. So
yeah, and if he keeps playing at this level with the way the defense is played, I mean, I'm not saying they're the favorite to get to the Super Bowl from the NFC, but their chances are right there with the 3 or 4 other top teams in this conference too.
Yeah, exactly. I know we said we were wrapping up, but that is an interesting point. And today could go a long way towards it, because you look at who are their main competition out of the NFC, probably the Cardinals, the Rams. They have to all play each other and make it out of just their division.
Yeah, the Bucks, those are the 3 teams, I think, within the Packers. Those are the 4 main contenders, and they're all good teams. They're all got a lot of talent. I still think the Bucks are probably the most talented, but it's not by a lot, and that doesn't mean they'll be playing the best in January. And with the, injuries are such a huge factor in this league. Who knows who gets hurt between now and mid-January? I mean, look at Robert Woods going down with an ACL tear just Friday. You know?
Well, stick with PackersNews.com for the rest of your coverage today for Packers versus Seahawks. And like we said, don't go far. Tom Silverstein and Leroy Butler will be right behind us. Thanks so much.